Vikings, Wrath of the Northmen. The sky above Katagat burned orange with the fires of twilight, as if the gods themselves had paused to witness a brewing storm of fate. The wind swept through the village, curling around wooden huts and longhouses, whispering secrets only the brave dared hear. At the center of it all stood a man with the soul of a storm, Ragnar Lothbrok. He had returned from the west. What began as a hushed rebellion against tradition had blossomed into a myth made flesh. Against the orders of Earl Haraldsson, the ruler of Kattegat, Ragnar and his crew had sailed into the unknown and returned not with excuses, but with treasure, gold, silver, strange relics, and a captive Christian monk whose terrified eyes spoke of a different world. But glory is never free. It demands sacrifice. The shadow of the Earl. Inside his longhouse, Earl Haraldsson sat in silence, fingers drumming against a carved table. The firelight threw flickers of red across his face, making his eyes look like pits of smoldering coals. Siggy, his wife, sat beside him with a composed, unreadable face. "He defied me," Haraldsson said finally, "in front of all, and now they cheer for him. He brought riches, something you haven't delivered in years," Siggy answered, her voice like velvet laced with knives. Haraldsson's face twitched. He had built his rule through fear, through blood and calculated violence. His power had been absolute. Until now, he turned to Galma, one of his loyal warriors. "Bring me the names of every man who sailed with Ragnar, their families, their children." This was not justice. It was vengeance. The return. Ragnar walked through the village, unbothered by the murmurs and pointing fingers. At his side trudged Athelstan, the captured monk, eyes darting nervously. Children watched them wide-eyed. Women whispered. Men watched in envy. To Athelstan, this was a world of chaos. He had never seen warriors with beards stained by salt, or women who fought like shield maidens. And yet, there was something deeply alive in this place. Pagan it might be, but it pulsed with an energy the cloisters of Lindisfarne had never known. In his home, Ragnar was greeted by Lagertha, his formidable wife. She was no soft-spirited woman, a shield maiden of renown. Lagertha stood tall, her piercing gaze assessing Athelstan in an instant. "Is this the prize?" she asked. Ragnar smiled. "A different kind of treasure." Lagertha narrowed her eyes. "Make sure he earns his keep, or I'll put him back on that ship and set him adrift." The gods whisper. That night, Ragnar visited the seer, the ancient oracle of Katagat, a twisted man with no eyes and a voice like wind over bones. Ragnar asked of his fate, not as a raider, but as a man seeking his place in the tapestry of the gods. "Am I destined for greatness?" he asked. The seer licked the air, as if tasting destiny. "You will be the father of many sons, great warriors. Some will be loved, others will be feared, but none will escape your shadow." Ragnar left in silence. The gods had spoken, but not clearly. They rarely did. Floki's madness, Floki's genius. In the woods, away from prying eyes, Ragnar met with Floki, the mad genius who had built the revolutionary longship that had taken them west. Floki danced barefoot through the trees, laughing to himself, talking to the gods as if they were old friends. "They laughed, you know," Floki grinned, "when I carved the curved keel, said it would snap in the surf." "But it didn't," Ragnar said. "No," Floki whispered. The sea sang to it, like a lover. The two men understood one another in ways few others could. Floki didn't just build ships, he built the future. The wrath begins. Earl Haraldsson began his counterattack. His men swept through Katagat, dragging Ragnar's allies from their homes. Some were beaten, others killed outright. Rollo, Ragnar's brother, was captured and thrown into chains. The Earl offered him freedom for a price. "Your brother is a traitor to his Earl," Haraldsson said. "He's stealing the hearts of my people. But you, You could be Earl one day. Rollo stared, silent. The conflict in him was clear. He loved Ragnar, but he hated living in his shadow. Meanwhile, Lagertha defended her home. When the Earl's men came, she fought like a bear protecting its cubs. Bloodied but unbroken, she forced them back. Her loyalty to Ragnar was not born of submission, but of belief. The monk and the warrior. As Athelstan tried to survive among the Northmen, Ragnar became increasingly curious about his world. What was this god who preached peace in a land of warriors? Why did men in cloaks not fight when attacked? Athelstan explained what he could, that his people believed in salvation through faith, not sword, that life was not about dying in battle, but in service to their god. Ragnar listened, not to convert but to understand. "You're wrong," he said one evening. "Your god is soft. Our gods demand courage. But your gods demand death," Athelstan replied quietly. Trial by combat. Backed into a corner by the Earl's growing aggression, Ragnar made a bold move. He invoked an ancient right, trial by combat. A legal challenge, one that no Earl could refuse without appearing weak. The Earl accepted. The entire village turned out to witness the coming duel. Men climbed trees, children clung to mothers, and warriors placed bets with clenched fists. On one side stood Ragnar, defiant, wiry, with eyes like a storm. On the other, Canute, one of the Earl's strongest fighters. The fight was savage. Axes clashed, blood spilled, bone cracked. But Ragnar fought not just for survival, he fought for a future. With one final lunge, he drove his axe deep into Canute's chest, and the field fell silent. The gods had spoken. The people erupted in cheers. The Earl's fury. Earl Haraldsson masked his fury with a false smile, but inside, he seethed. He could not kill Ragnar now, he had fought and won under the law. But the Earl's wrath was only just awakening. In private, he vowed, "One victory does not make a king." End of the beginning. As the episode drew to a close, Ragnar stood atop a cliff, gazing once again at the sea. Athelstan stood beside him, still uncertain whether he was a captive or a companion. "What do you see?" the monk asked. "A new world," Ragnar whispered, "and somewhere, across stormy waters and shadowed coastlines, destiny waited bloody, glorious, and cruel. For this was the age of the Vikings, and their wrath was only just beginning.